Hello, I'm Carwyn Jones, and welcome to this series of podcasts where I talk to the movers and shakers in the Welsh business world. What's their history? What are they doing now? What are the challenges and opportunities in their line of business? And what does the future hold for their businesses and for themselves? I'm joined today by Ian Edwards. Ian is the Chief Executive at the Celtic Manor Resort and also the International Convention Centre, Wales. Ian, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Ian, you have a long track record in hotels and hospitality, if I can call it that. What took you into that line of work?
Well, it's one of those things in life where you decide where you want to go. And my dream job, I suppose, was I always wanted to be a fighter pilot. For some reason, I like speed, I like pace, I like excitement, and I never actually went down that journey. Obviously, I went where I ended up today. But I think what it made me realise is that the skills that you need to be a fighter pilot, and it's something I spoke about in one of the presentations I did. That situation awareness, managing time, managing people, all of that it's the same skill set. But a different outcome, and so I decided. When you're at college and university, you work in bars and pubs and bottle collecting, and I thought, you see these businesses, but inside you think this could be so much more. We could do so much more. So that's when I decided that was a career I thought I'd go down, and ended up finishing my studies, and then went to be a trainee manager with Metropole Hotels in Brighton. And that's where my journey began from there in 1989.
And 10 years then, you spent in various roles at various hotels, and then you came for your first stint at the Celtic Manor back in 1999, is that right?
That's right, yeah, and it was a great journey. It was I'd reached a point in my career, it was Hilton Hotels that I was just finishing with at that point, and I thought, what do I do next? How can I make an impact? And what I actually heard when I was in Brighton was that there was this crazy Welshman building this incredible hotel on a side of a hill on the side of a motorway in some place called Newport. And I thought, that's not going to work. Everyone, all of our industry were talking about that will never work. Why would someone do that? It's in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to happen. So I thought, anyway, I liked the challenges. So I went for my interview. Loved what I saw. It was an incredible building site. Fortunately for me, Terry employed me. And yes, as you said, it was my first stint at Celtic Manor. So I joined there in 99. My job there was Client Services Director. So it was about bringing in new clients to Celtic Manor and into Wales, and taking it on that start of the evolution of the journey that Celtic Manor has now become. So I was there for a good 4 years. I then had another opportunity to open more hotels in Wales. So I worked with a partnership with McDonald Hotels and Right Acres who are now sort of building everything that you see in Cardiff these days. And we opened Holland House in Cardiff. So we moved into there, which was great fun.
And then London for a year.
Yeah, so
the Hotel Russell, a grand old hotel, of course, there in Southampton Row, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I did 3 or 4 years with Right Acres and McDonald Hotels opening the Holland House in Cardiff. We then moved over into Bristol and did that. And then it was time for me to look again. And for my career, I'd not really done a great stint in London, so I thought, let's do that. And it was a great opportunity. Hotel Russell is an iconic hotel in London. Beautiful hotel, great location. So I was there, but I was only there for a year. And the reason that I was only there for a year is because whilst it was an amazing hotel, we were at the height of, in terms of the economy was booming, and it was actually, really. It was a strange feeling for me because I would go into work and the hotel was going to be successful despite me. Occupancies were high in London, average rates were high in London, everything was booming, and I didn't think I could make any huge impact on there. So I started looking again, and by chance, by coincidence, Terry got in contact with me again and said, look, we're getting ready for the Ryder Cup. This was 2007 going into 2008. Are you prepared to come and join us and help us on that journey? So I was delighted. So I came back to Celtic Manor in January 2008 and set off on that journey that took us through to Ryder Cup and beyond.
Yes, back to the Celtic Manor, and back, of course, to the Ryder Cup. Huge event, could only have been held at the Celtic Manor. What was it like to be involved in the organisation of such a big event?
Oh, it was amazing. It was a huge honour. It was a huge honour for, again, number one, being back at the Celtic Manor, but a huge honour being part of a team that was going to lead us through to the Ryder Cup and beyond. And it was interesting times, again, when I came back to Celtic Manor. Whilst I've just spoken about how great and booming the economy was in London, we then started to slide into a recession. And it became, a tricky period for every industry and for every businessman and, everyone involved around that time. But I think for us, we were very, very fortunate, because if we were going to go into the recession as Celtic Manor, there was no better time, if I can say such a thing, for us to go into that recession, because we had the Ryder Cup on the horizon, and we were on every single piece of press around the world. Everyone was speaking about the Ryder Cup. Everyone was speaking about the Ryder Cup was coming to this place in Wales called Newport. So it really did propel us and kept our head above the water in terms of the recession. And so what it did do is it helped us sort of revisit what we did as a business, because predominantly Celtic Manor, has amazing conference rooms and fantastic conference space, but huge part of our business during that period, during that time, was conference business. And the first thing that ever gets cut during a recession is, spend that you don't really need to spend, and that generally is around conferences. So our conference business dropped off a cliff edge, essentially. So we had to counter that, and we went aggressively after the leisure market, helped by the lead up to the Ryder Cup. So we promoted golf hard, we built new activities for guests to come and use, whether it was high ropes or low ropes or adventure golf, things that the family market could come to. And we changed the identity of the Celtic Manor in a way, because Celtic Manor was very much about those people from London that would come and stay for conferences, and not really a hotel for local people. So we tried to engage a lot more with Wales. We engaged more with the local NP postcode, the Cardiff postcode, to really sort of open our doors and say, look, we are open for business and we want you to be part of that. And that really helped us through the recession. And, instead of our business going backwards, it actually propelled it forward. And then we were ready for the Ryder Cup, because we got used to dealing with high occupancies. We got used to dealing with lots of guests coming into the resort. And then Ryder Cup, in and out, 40,000 people a day. And even, challenges along the weather. But more importantly, I think that it was great for Wales that it actually went into a fourth day. How lucky were we? I mean, Jim McKenzie might not agree, our Director of Estates, he might not agree, but how lucky were we that Wales was on that world stage for another day? So it was an incredible journey.
I remember it very, very well when the rain came, and you'd swear that it only ever rained in Wales, that the rain stopped at the Severn Bridge and then wouldn't pay the toll across to the other side. That was the old joke. On a Saturday, it was really difficult.
It was.
And I remember coming in on a Sunday morning, having breakfast with the American ambassador, and the news at that time was that it might have to be called off because the stands were sinking. Fortunately, Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But you're right, we had a gorgeous day on the Monday, didn't we?
Incredible. I mean, and what a day to showcase the final day of the Ryder Cup. I mean, if you were watching it on TV, you would think that we were in Florida. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, the sun was shining, and more importantly, or as importantly, the Europeans won the Ryder Cup, and it was a Ryder Cup that was taken right down to the bone. And I think Colin Montgomery said the world was watching and Wales delivered. So what a line that was, and again it truly was a Team Wales effort that pulled that event together, and everyone involved made that a world-class event.
Yes, it was. And sometimes a seat of the pants job. I remember the opening concert and the problems we had trying to get people. And at one point, I was being advised to pull it. And I said, that's not happening. If we get local young talent, we'll showcase them instead, like Ireland did with Riverdance when they had the Eurovision.
Yeah.
And that's the way it worked out, fortunately. But it's when I look back on it now, the event went very smoothly apart from the weather. But with all these things, it's like a swan, serenity on the top and paddling like hell at the bottom underneath the water.
That's it.
But you touched on something there which interested me, the transformation of Celtic Manor from a kind of business hotel into a resort. Hence its name, of course. More things for families to do, the lodges, the golf, the the actual spa itself. Lots of different activities taking place there now, and that's been a major change, I suppose, over the years since the Ryder Cup. And the next step now, of course, is the convention centre.
Yeah, I think the evolution of the brand, which is Celtic Manor, has been an incredible journey. And I think the team that we have at the Celtic Manor that that has taken us on that journey has been incredible. But again, we've only been able to do that because of that Team Wales approach. I mean, we have an incredible owner who allows us to run the business, and he's very passionate. And as he tells me on a regular basis, he's an active owner. I'm an active owner, Ian, so I like to be involved, and he is. But he also allows us to do our job. And the journey that I spoke about, going from predominantly a corporate hotel to a leisure-based resort, has been incredible. And back before 2010, our occupancies were around about the 48% occupancy. Now, for the last 4 years, consistently, the business has run at over 90% occupancy. And again, that's because we're supported by the Welsh community. It's incredible the amount of guests. If you stand in our lobby, the amount of guests that live down at the bottom of in the NP postcode at the bottom of our hill that will come and stay for a weekend, or they'll come and play golf, or they'll come and eat in our restaurants, have really helped us transform what we do. And in turn, that has now enabled us to look really hard at that corporate market again, and look at it also internationally, because what we haven't done incredibly well is brought in the international clients, the international conferences. In terms of UK domestic, we do an incredible job, and the team there have been voted the best UK conference hotel for 8 out of the last 9 years across the whole of the UK. So now we want to transform that into our joint venture with Welsh Government, which is the International Convention Centre for Wales, and this will really take not Celtic Manor so much, because the occupancies at Celtic Manor are so high, but it will transform the landscape of Wales in terms of business tourism, and that's what we're really excited about. I mean, because this really is game changing. We can take up to 5,000 delegates in this convention centre, but the great thing about this convention centre, and I know, Carwyn, you've been and seen it, but we've obviously come a long way now. We open in September. But it puts a smile on your face when you go in there, because it truly is world class.
Well, I was there to cut the first sod, I remember it, and you didn't get a sense then of how big it was going to be. I went there last year, of course, and had a look at it in construction. It's a tremendous facility, and I hadn't realised its size. You mentioned there 5,000 delegates. Well, that's something we don't have in Wales. It's something that'll be very, very important for the future. You mentioned your employer. Your employer, of course, is Terry Matthews. I've met Terry several times. I'm not sure he ever sleeps, because he's an ideas factory. He comes up with so many ideas, even in conversation with you. Now, mischievously, I might say, what's he really like to work for? Yeah. But you still work there. So you mentioned the fact he's an active owner. He is very passionate, and Celtic Manor is very much a Welsh resort, and the biggest Red Dragon in the world. Yeah, flies from the top of the top of the hotel. And for what you said earlier, Terry's still very active in the business. Yeah, I mean, he is. Yes, I still do work there, and even if I didn't work there, he is an amazing person. He is a total ideas person, and he never stops. And and does he sleep? I don't think he does. I don't think he does. I mean, he'll email me at 2:00 in the morning Canadian time, and he's just constant. He lives in Canada. He does come across to Wales on a fairly regular basis, but he's 100 miles an hour. And if you looked at his business itinerary, it is that of a 30-year-old exec, not someone who's been in the business for forever. And he's hugely passionate about Wales. It's all about Wales. He's passionate about business. He's passionate about succeeding. He's passionate about taking on challenges that people think he will never win. Going back to the Ryder Cup, we were given a 1% chance of us winning the Ryder Cup, and who would think that we would take it over Glen Eagles for the year that we took it? So he likes these big, audacious challenges, and that's what he sets his teams. That we won, as you know, Carwyn. Again, you were hugely involved with the NATO Summit, and again, that really helped Wales and helped put us on that business tourism map. That it showed the world that we can
not just do sporting events, which we do incredibly well, but we can really bring in business tourism and look after world leaders. I think we had in excess of 50 world leaders here at the NATO event, and thousands, tens of thousands of entourage that came with those world leaders. So he sets us these audacious goals, and he will keep pushing the boundaries every single day. You think you've reached the target? Not a chance. Not a chance.
I once had a conversation with Terry a few years ago, and I said to him, have you ever thought of retiring, Terry? You do whatever you want. You can go in the world. And he looked at me as if it was a concept he didn't understand.
Yeah, no,
so it's one of these people who that's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally motivated by working hard and not just success, but working hard and going for those things that most people would think would be impossible to achieve. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about that for him, the challenge, and then moving on.
And the fact that he's made his money elsewhere, but he's investing in Wales. And he's come back, and of course he bought the Celtic Manor because he was born there, wasn't he?
That's
that was
right.
The original
That's
idea,
right.
And he's transformed it into something that many other people would have said that's never going to happen. It's in the wrong place, and well, why would somebody go to at that time to Newport? But to a sheer force of will,
yeah,
he transformed it.
That's right, and that's what I said right at the beginning. When back in 1999, the tourism industry saw that he was building this, and we all, me included, said, "Why is he building that? That will never work." But he pushes through those audacious goals, and in actual fact has been hugely successful. But he is keen in investing in Wales, and I think in terms of what the Celtic Manor does at the moment in terms of into the NP postcode, it delivers in excess of £50 million a year into the NP postcode through wages, suppliers, and we're passionate about dealing with local suppliers, Welsh suppliers, and keeping everything this side of the bridge as far as we can. That is his mantra. It's got to be local, it's got to be Welsh, and it's got to be great product. So, I think he is, whilst he lives in Canada, he's thoroughly through and through a Welshman at heart, without a doubt.
So the future, and the future of the Celtic Manor, and I suppose the future of the sector as a whole. What are the challenges and opportunities, do you think, over the next decade?
I think it's a great question, and part of my boss's challenge with me is write a 10-year plan, write a 5-year plan, write a 3-year plan. It's constant. We've got to move and change with the times, and Celtic Manor. Again, we're hugely fortunate that we can push those boundaries, and we're looking at expanding constantly. The future. The immediate future is the opening of the International Convention Centre for Wales. Like I said, will change the landscape of Wales, and particularly Newport and Cardiff. We're looking to put another 500 bedrooms on site within the Celtic Manor. We've just bought the Hampton by Hilton, just at the Mega Junction there, and renamed that as Tea Hotels. And again, this is a throwback to our Welsh roots, tea being the Welsh word for house. So we want to make our house your home. And again, it's, really being passionate about that. So our immediate future is to grow more of that tea brand and bring more hotels in. And we just want to keep on expanding because we need to, because the demand is there for these international conferences to come to Wales and become a game changer. And I think the important thing for us is that what we don't want to do is just take conferences that already exist in Glasgow or Edinburgh or Liverpool. We want to create our own events, and we've got to, and this has got to come from everyone within Wales. Let's look at what we can do differently and make the best events. We have a huge tech sector in Wales. Let's focus on that. Let's make the best worldwide events here, and we can grow those. But we also want to bring in the international business as well. And I'm sure many of your guests have spoken about Brexit and what does that mean, and what does that mean for our immediate future and the future going forward. But it is a challenge. There's no question about it for the hospitality industry. We're seeing a decrease on particularly European visitors to the UK and obviously Wales. So that's a massive challenge, and the challenge around that is that, and these are hard facts. Our tourism inbound business is down by over 10% from Europe, which is massive. And the reason that they're not coming, or they've started to fall away, is because we're not getting the messaging right to the European market. They think that when they arrive at the airports or the ports or any way in, that they're going to be stood there for 3 hours, 4 hours trying to get in past border control. They think that we're not welcoming. They think that we're not open for business. We want to be separate from Europe. Therefore, you're not welcome into our country. And that is far from the truth. But the key here is communication. And how do we get that message over to the Europeans? Because we're losing market share to France, to Germany, to the rest of Europe, because the visitors are going to those areas, and we've got to do something about it. And it's an immediate factor now that we have to do that.
So what do we do about it, Ian? And what else do you think we need to do to promote Wales as a brand, but also to market the UK to visitors from Europe?
Again, I mean, it's a really good question, and I think the only way to do this is to have that Team Wales approach, and it's in actual fact it's just beyond Wales. It's UK government as well. You know, Visit Britain have a huge responsibility around this in terms of showing that we're open for business, and you know, and we see every day that there are certain sectors in trouble. The car industry. We've lost thousands of jobs locally in Wales because of plants closing down, and so let's react and see what we can do. Part of our problem as a tourism industry is ministers and senior government officials, whether it's in Wales or in UK, there's always this thought process that tourism will be okay. They will always get through it, but it's not. We will struggle and we will suffer if we don't have that approach where we've got that team approach via Westminster and Wales, that we go out there and we show, marketing campaigns, showing that Wales is open for business, showing that Wales exists. I mean, our brand in Wales, I think Visit Wales have done an incredible job in terms of changing what we do and how we're perceived in internationally. We've still got a long way to go. We're nowhere near done yet. It's signified, I suppose, by Donald Trump tweeting a few weeks ago about Wales and spelt WHALES, and that is part of the problem. We need to be bigger, bolder, and braver, and unfortunately, that means investment. It means hard cash. It means supporting Visit Wales. It means giving them the opportunity to promote our brand internationally, soft power has a huge role to play in this because we don't utilise it enough, and we should do that, and we should get together and say, okay, how do we make this work? How does what are industry going to do? Because we have a responsibility, of course we do, but how can we work with Welsh government? How can we work with UK government to make this different? And the way to do it is use soft power, spend some money, and really promote us as a brand, because otherwise we're going to struggle. And that's part of our challenge.
Yeah, I take your point as well about the idea of people not being welcome here, because some of the comments that come out from politicians, you would swear that somehow the war was still on. And I can well imagine that there will be some from Europe who think, well, there's no point going there because they don't really, they don't want us, and it's a struggle to get in, and so I can imagine that being a problem. That's something we have to overcome. If I could take you to, I suppose, the future of the industry itself. When I was a little boy, hotel rooms were generally not en suite. They were seen as an incredible luxury to have a bath or a shower in the hotel room. Over the years, of course, we've seen what people expect from their hotel rooms changing. In the next 10 years, what will the hotel room of the future look like, do you think?
I think, whatever it will look like physically, what people want and what people expect, and whatever style of hotel you are, whether you're a one-star hotel or you're a five-star hotel, people want quality. And you can have quality in a one-star hotel just as you can have quality in a five-star hotel. People are spending their hard-earned money, and this is hard-earned money, and it's discretional spend. So we've got to make sure whatever end of the industry we sit in, whether you're a caravan site, a one-star hotel, a five-star hotel, a camping venue, what we've got to offer is quality facilities, whatever that is. The best of the best, the best shower block on a caravan site, the best mattress available in a bedroom. So all of that is really important. Obviously, tech is hugely important as well. Making sure that we have Wi-Fi, making sure it's high-speed Wi-Fi. All of these things are going to be hugely important. I mean, interestingly, we're talking with the WRU at the moment in terms of moving the Celtic Manor brand into Cardiff and making a hugely high-tech hotel, very high-end, and making it available for all levels of market, but it's all high-end. And I think just because it's high-end or just because you have high-end, it doesn't always mean quality. And that's what we've got to make sure. Whatever we do, whatever we deliver, it's a quality product at whatever level.
Yeah, that's interesting, because one of the things that I found when we had the Champions League is we do lack hotel space. I mean, the city in the last 20 years has changed completely from where it was, and the Rugby World Cup was a great catalyst for that. But we still need more hotels, particularly in Cardiff city centre. I think we had 4,500 hotel rooms available for the Champions League final. Milan had 40,000. All right, it's a much bigger city, but it's not 10 times the size of Cardiff. And that was a real issue for us. If we have big events in the stadium, being able to make sure that people can stay. And the reality is that most people couldn't, a lot of people couldn't stay in Wales.
Yeah.
And how we keep more of those people in and around Cardiff and beyond Cardiff, of course, to the wider area. That's going to need more investment in more hotels.
Yeah, and again, it's a hugely important point. Because yes, we do need more hotel rooms. If you're the general manager of a hotel in Cardiff, you'll be sitting there probably saying, "No, don't say that. We don't want any more competition." But in actual fact, if we want to grow the city, if we want to grow the brand, Cardiff is the capital of Wales. We want Cardiff to be the place to go. We want people. Wales needs something to hang its hat on, and we have lots of things to do that. But we want a capital city that will attract people in, like Barcelona. People will go to Barcelona because of all the bedrooms, great facilities. We have great facilities here. We don't have a huge amount of bedroom stock. But this would lead me to a point about, and again, a political point, in terms of VAT. The hotel industry have been talking for many years now about, put us on a level playing field with some of our European cities. And, Ireland, for example, tourism VAT is 9%. If we want investors to build hotels, they need to be assured of a return. And when you're sat at 20% or 9%, where are you going to go as a property developer? So it's something that we do need to look at. We can't keep kicking the ball into the long grass. Let's be serious about tourism. Let's be serious about business tourism and say, okay, take this to the highest level. Make sure that people who can make these decisions are informed. And we, again, back to industry, we should be shouting and making the point that to the ministers who can make those decisions, work with us and we will improve your economy. The tourism won't be okay. It won't just happen. It happens because of a lot of hard work and that team approach. And I think if we do take this seriously and we do look at the VAT issues, then people will start investing and we will become a real player in the tourism market.
That's interesting, because VAT was one of those taxes that couldn't be devolved. Members of the EU can't set different rates of VAT in different parts of their own countries. Portugal tried it with the Azores, ended up in the European Court, and that was the ruling. It's one of those things that has to be the same across the whole of a jurisdiction. So oddly enough, with Brexit, that may no longer be the case. And of course, I'm sure that there'll be growing calls for VAT perhaps to be devolved. They'll give Welsh ministers the power over this. I mean, the drawback is that having a share of the UK pot is probably bigger than what the Welsh pot would be. But there's an opportunity there, potentially, I suppose, that didn't exist before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got to look at all of those opportunities. Again, if we want to do something different, I'm a big advocate of being, again, big, bold, and brave, and making these decisions, because we all want a thriving economy. And again, another issue that is being kicked around at the moment is, should we be putting on a tourism tax? We've just taken away the toll on the bridge, and believe me, that has made a huge difference to our industry, the tourism industry, already, because people did see it as a barrier, and they did see it as a why would I go over to Wales, particularly again with the business tourists, because if you think of a corporate and they've got 1,000 delegates coming over and they're all paying that massive fee to come in, that all adds on to the additional cost of running an event in Wales. And now if we start thinking about a tourism tax. You know, we are in our infancy in terms of driving Wales forward as a tourism destination. We are. You know, you look at Scotland. Unfortunately, they're 40 years ahead of us on that. You know, Glasgow, Edinburgh, they've worked hard to get to where they are. And again, interestingly, talking about the stats earlier, Scotland is one of the only areas that isn't losing market share. In actual fact, their inbound tourism is going up by 10%, and we're losing the 10%. But because they've got it right and they've worked hard, so if anyone was going to put a tourism tax on, it would be Edinburgh, Glasgow, those areas that already do really well. We're not doing well, and we want people to come to us. So that is a ball that should be kicked into the long grass.
It's curious, isn't it? You begin to wonder whether, because Scotland is at least holding its market share, that people are saying, well, they've voted Remain, so they're not as hostile.
Yeah.
Who knows?
No, and I think that could be part of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure. Obviously, not a marketing ploy we can use.
No.
Well, what's the future for Ian Edwards then?
Well, it's I'm hugely fortunate that I have a boss that allows me to run the business with an incredible team, and it would be really difficult for me to think beyond working with the Celtic Manor team, because we have so many opportunities. We're building a world-class convention centre, and I promise you it is world-class. It does put a smile on your face. We're adding more bedrooms to our bedroom stock. We're adding a new brand, which is T Hotels. And we're hopefully coming into Cardiff as well and beyond. And we've got many more plans for expansion. So it's really hard for me to think beyond that. And going back to your comment before about Terry retiring, he threatens me all the time with, you will not retire. So, my long-term plan is definitely to work and build tourism within Wales, because whilst I am English, I am passionate about Wales and passionate about making the industry in Wales a success.
Ian Edwards, Chief Executive at Celtic Manor Resort and the International Convention Centre, Wales. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.